MP's opposition motion of expanding an island airport, that we consider the impacts to the natural habitats. And as I had mentioned, 316 migratory bird species are in Tommy Thompson Park. We need to protect them.
Statements by members. Honorable député de Repentigny.
Honourable member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, today we are celebrating International Women's Day. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind the House that the public elected 88 women to this House, which is a record. Unfortunately, that's only a quarter of the total number of MPs, and that proportion has been stagnating. Here as elsewhere, equality is something for the future. A lot of things have been published in Quebec recently about the word feminism. Some like to avoid it because they think it has a negative connotation, and yet its definition is very simple. The attitude of those who want women's rights to be the same as those of men. Seeking equality among human beings is never against anyone. It is against ignorance. So, whether you're feminist, sure you are, or not quite sure, if this day leads you to reflect on where we're at in terms of male-female equality, we should all push up our sleeves and work for that. The Honourable Member for Vimy. Mr. Speaker, International Women's Day is an opportunity to pay tribute to women worldwide. Women are our mothers, our sisters, and our daughters. And they were the cornerstones of our society in the most troubling periods of history. Today we are celebrating everything they have given us and continue to give us.
I would like to highlight my own mother, not for one specific accomplishment, but for a lifetime of compassion, hard work, and perseverance. She was solely responsible for raising a family during troubling times and imbued her children with the values that would guide them through their ambitions. She exemplifies the unshakable characteristics that strong women can have. Characteristics that women in Vimy and all of Canada exhibit daily as they help empower our children and women in all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Haldeman Norfolk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Queen's University professor Arthur MacDonald, who now shares the Nobel Prize in Physics with Takaki Nikijita from Japan for their discovery of neutrino oscillations, which changes our understanding of the innermost workings of matter. The discovery concluded that neutrinos, which for a long time were considered massless, must have some mass, however small. Experiments continue worldwide to capture neutrinos and to examine their properties. These new discoveries are expected to change our understanding of the history, the structure, and indeed the future of the universe. Dr. MacDonald's research yielded an historic discovery in particle physics at the Sudbury Neutrino Observatory. His innovative vision has made Canada a world leader in the field of particle astrophysics and has paved the way for international collaborations. Congratulations, Dr. MacDonald.
Honourable député de Shefford.
Honourable Member for Shefford. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my riding, the International Song Festival in Granby is being held right now. It's its 48th anniversary and is the largest francophone song competition in Canada, if not the world. This is a non-profit organization that attracts 45,000 spectators each year. When we know that for every dollar invested in culture, we get at least $7 in spin-offs, I'm proud that the Government of Canada has been supporting this for many years. The Festival de la Chanson de Granby is led by Mr. Pierre Fortier, a man who has dedicated many years to the diffusion of francophone songs. His dedication and work were well recognized last fall when he received the Ordre des Francophones d'Amérique. He is joined in this by Luc Plamondon and Gilles Vigneault and a very select group of people who contributed greatly to our culture and heritage. We congratulate him and wish him a great festival. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Essex.
Today we celebrate International International Women's Day, a global day recognizing the economic, political, and social achievements of all women. Since the first International Women's Day in 1911, women have fought to achieve greater equality. However, there is still much work to be done as Canada has fallen to number 30 in the global gender parity rankings. Women are still not paid equally compared to their male counterparts and are still underrepresented in business and politics. Globally, women's education, health, and violence women face is still worse than that of men. I am humbled to stand in this place, following in the footsteps of all women parliamentarians that have served our country. They have fought to ensure that the 88 women who serve in this parliament can accurately reflect women's diverse interests, voices, and experiences. Women and girls are deeply impacted by poverty, climate change, food insecurity, economic crises, and the lack of affordable childcare. The achievement of full human potential and of sustainable development is not possible if one half of humanity continues to be denied its full human rights and opportunities.
The honourable member for Avalon.
Mr. Speaker, on February 15th, Newfoundlander John Munn was named as one of 38 Canadians to receive the National Historical Designation. In 1825, Mr. Munn arrived in Newfoundland at the age of 18 and lived in Harbour Grace, where he established one of the largest and most important businesses in Newfoundland at the time. Munn was an outport merchant in the face of John Munn and Company, a firm that gave great opportunity for growth to the seal, commercial and inshore fishermen. He was truly a pioneer in the expansion of the Newfoundland fisheries of the 19th century. He grew his business and became one of the most prominent political and social figures in Newfoundland. John Munn was a leader in the Confederation movement and only one of 9 elected representatives to the legislature in 1869 to support the Union of Newfoundland and the Dominion of Canada. John Munn made his mark on Newfoundland 2 centuries ago, and I am honoured to see his legacy live on in Canada still today. I rise to thank Parks Canada for this recognition.
Honourable member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
I was in London.
Mr. Speaker, today is International Women's Day. Each and every day, women in Lambton, Kent, Middlesex establish new standards of excellence in business, in home, in sports, and in fact many other fields. Today I want to recognize an outstanding achievement of 15-year-old Madison Broad from Wallaceburg, Ontario. When I first met Maddie in 2014, she had won 2 gold, 2 silver medals in Swimming Canada, the Canadian Age Group Championships. Since then, she has won many more gold and various medals in various competitions. Just last week, Madison finished first in the Orlando Grand Prix 100-meter backstroke. Mr. Speaker, Maddie is now focused on the Olympic trials, and they happen in April of this year. So let's join together with my constituents of Lambton, Kent, Middlesex and give her the support she deserves to reach that Olympic goal.
The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to wish a very happy birthday to Miss Elizabeth South. Betty, as she is known to friends and family, will be turning 90 years young on March 14th. And if this weren't impressive enough on its own, Mr. Speaker, I also want to highlight Betty's nearly 40 years of volunteerism at the Grand River Hospital Freeport campus, where you can still find her every Monday helping to make our community a better place. Mr. Speaker, Betty is a role model for us all, and we should all strive to the example that she sets. I hope that I'm able to do even half of what she does if I'm lucky enough to get to her age. I would ask the members from all sides of this House to join me in wishing Betty a very happy 90th birthday. Thank you.
The honourable member for Ottawa West Nepean.
On this International Women's Day, I want to pay tribute to all those courageous women around the world and in Canada who have inspired me. For the women I knew in Congo, who were beaten by police and undressed in the street simply for peacefully demonstrating for their right to fair elections. For Flora Terra in Kenya, whose only son was murdered because she had the audacity to run for Parliament. For the Indigenous women in Mexico who fought successfully for the right to stand for municipal council. For Sadia in my riding, who worked for 17 years in a family shelter, giving hope for victims of domestic violence, and to the families of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. On International Women's Day, we all here in this House stand with them for a life free of violence and a world where our daughters and sons can grow up in a world with full gender parity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, members of the Canadian Chiropractic Association are on Parliament Hill today to raise awareness of the impact of back pain and musculoskeletal, or MSK, conditions on our workforce and Canada's overall competitiveness. More than 11 million Canadians are affected by MSK conditions every year. These conditions rival cardiovascular disease as an overall health burden and are the second leading cause of reasons for doctor's visits. These conditions impact Canadians' productivity, where 85% of workers will suffer from back pain at least once in their lifetime. MSK conditions make it more difficult to stay physically active, which helps to prevent and manage many chronic conditions. I invite my colleagues in the House to join me in welcoming CCA members who have come from across the country to meet with government decision makers. Canadian chiropractors, as spine, muscle, and nervous system experts, help relieve MSK conditions by providing evidence-informed conservative care options and play an essential role in the continued health of Canadians every year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Sudbury.
I rise to salute the fantastic achievements of Dr. Arthur MacDonald, the co-winner of the 2015 Nobel Prize in Physics. Dr. MacDonald, a professor at Queen's University, led a global team of over 270 researchers from 13 international institutions to the discovery that neutrinos can change identities, thereby confirming the particles have mass. This discovery upset the standard model of physics and changed our understanding of how the universe works. The team conducted these experiments at the Sudbury Neutrino Observatory, or SNO Lab, in the Creighton Mine, located 2 kilometers underground in my riding of Sudbury. The lab is the deepest clean room facility in the world, allowing scientists to study the particles free from cosmic radiation constantly bombarding the Earth's surface.
Mr. Speaker, the residents of Sudbury and all Canadians have a good reason to be very proud of the scientific achievements of Dr. MacDonald.
Our deepest congratulations to the 2015 Nobel Prize in Physics winner, Dr. MacDonald, and his team of collaborators.
The honourable member for Mississauga, East Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, as this is International Women's Day, I have the privilege to stand today in this House to recognize an extraordinary woman and civic leader, Hazel McCallion, who's in Ottawa today. As an outstanding advocate for her community and her constituents, a public servant and my friend, Ms. McCallion has been a driving force for real change in my riding. As the longest-serving mayor of Mississauga, her determination, her vision, and her spirit helped guide the city of Mississauga on its path towards becoming the 6th largest in Canada. Despite an early prediction that she would only see one term, she successfully won 11 straight re-election bids. Proof not only of her tenacity, but her many talents, Mr. Speaker. Hurricane Hazel is revered locally and highly respected, both nationally and abroad, a passionate ambassador for her city, her wealth of experience.
Yes, indeed. The
honourable member for Beauport, Côte-de-Beaupré, Île d'Orléans, Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, on this International Women's Day, I'd like to celebrate the social, political, and economic progress achieved by women here and elsewhere that have made a difference in our daily lives and in our society. Be she a daughter, a mother, a career woman, a caregiver, or whatever, these women share their experiences, give us a part of their lives, and through their actions, create unique moments to build the world of tomorrow. This event gives us an opportunity to salute the achievements of women and to reflect on the work that remains to be done, notably in the fight against violence against women. When I first participated in the Women Parliamentarians Network, I noted the necessity of including men and help them raise awareness against this scourge. Women must continue to support these exceptional women who continue to contribute to building our society.
Mr. Speaker, last week I participated in 3 events welcoming Syrian refugees to Canada. The first was to recognize the efforts of the residents of Markham Lawrence community to raise funds for 2 families and their accommodations. The second was to participate in a fundraiser for the Guildwood Refugee Action Committee, where we heard the harrowing tale of Siram Abista and her 2 children fleeing Syria. The third was at the home of my daughter Sarah, who along with her husband Phil and their team welcomed a Syrian family with a tasty Middle Eastern halal meal. As we stood around the kitchen eating and conversing through Google Translate, I was reminded of the great biblical passage. I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. Mr. Speaker, isn't it wonderful that our nation can be a light in this world of darkness?
The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
International Women's Day can celebrate women's achievements and highlight what holds us back. But words ring hollow if there's no follow-through, no action. Our collective work over this next year must be based on action. What can we do in this chamber to end epidemic violence against women? What can we do to get women elected to help our communities make good decisions? And what can we do to lock in equal pay for work of equal value? Taking immediate action will make this a better place, not just for women, but for our economy, for our society, for our soul as a nation. And so I look forward to rising with you in 1 year's time to celebrate what we in this House have achieved with and for Canadian women.
Here. The honourable member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to acknowledge that today is International Women's Day.
Here.
This day is recognized by Canadians as well as by the United Nations as a day to celebrate women and their place in the world. This year's UN theme is Pledge for Parity, which aligns well to our Canadian theme, Empowerment Leads to Equality. As your first female engineer member, I applaud the efforts of the members of the Status of Women Committee and the work planned by the Special Committee on Pay Equity to advance the cause of gender parity. Consider how each of us can pledge to help empower women by encouraging women and girls in their ambitions, by creating an inclusive and flexible work environment where everyone's contributions are valued, and by supporting the recommendations from our committees. Celebrate International Women's Day and your mothers, daughters, sisters, and fellow leaders who make this world a better place.
The honourable member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to underscore International Women's Day, as some colleagues have already done today. Mr. Speaker, 1 minute is not much when it comes to discussing equality between the genders. As you know, this value is one our government holds dear, and it was also a value my parents held dear when they raised me. They knew that success and prosperity had no gender. Mr. Speaker, when I made a commitment to politics, my objective was one that I always felt was important as the mother of 4 children. I want my 2 daughters to dream and benefit of the same opportunities as my 2 sons, because when women and girls can be successful, the whole country benefits. Thank you.
Questions orales, oral questions. The honourable leader of the opposition.
on International Women's Day, my thoughts are with the Yazidi girls in Iraq who are being captured, tortured, raped, and forced to be sex slaves by ISIS. Those who can actually flee with their lives are now languishing in IDP camps. But, Mr. Speaker, we can help them. We can bring them to Canada. With private sponsors that are willing to help, will the Prime Minister commit today to placing these Yazidi girls in the joint sponsorship program so they can come to Canada and find safe haven?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
In the last election, Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Party committed to bringing in 25,000 refugees from Syria, and that's exactly what we did. As we look to how we continue to demonstrate that Canada is an open and welcoming country, we're of course open to all sorts of different suggestions and ways we can continue to demonstrate that Canada is a place that will accept people, not just because they're fleeing tremendous hardship, because they will contribute to the economic growth and the success of this country in the years to come. And I look forward to doing more of that in the months and years to come.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, while the Prime Minister is in Washington this week, he'll be hanging out with his friends from the Centre for American Progress. These are the same anti-Canadian American lobbyists that called our energy sector a dirty business. Meanwhile, Petronas is threatening to cancel its $36 billion investment in British Columbia LNG because of Liberal policies. Mr. Speaker, instead of toasting champagne with anti-Canadian American lobbyists who want to kill Canadian jobs, will the Prime Minister finally stand up for Canada's energy sector?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, a few years ago I went down to Washington and indeed spoke at an event hosted by the Centre for American Progress. Progress is all together. And what I told the Centre for American Progress was that this Canadian Liberal supports the Keystone XL pipeline. I talked about the issues that we need to put forward to promote that, to promote the fact that we can export our resources sustainably and responsibly. Unfortunately, for 10 years, Canada got a black mark where we had a Prime Minister who refused to put together environment and economy. That's what we're going to do, and that's the message I'm going to give to our friends down south.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
When the Prime Minister is in Washington, then he can ask President Obama to reverse his decision on Keystone and make
Mr. Speaker, Liberal MPs will have an opportunity to vote on the Conservative motion to enable Bombardier to sell more aircraft. But the Liberals are making it all impossible, more specifically the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister. Why does the Prime Minister prefer compensating his friend instead of helping Bombardier create good jobs? The Right Honourable the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, even after their failure in the last election, we see that these Conservatives still want to pit one part of the country against the other. We respect the desires and interests of local communities. That's how we build a strong country. Instead of trying to undermine the differences between the provinces for ideological, strategic and political reasons.
The Honourable Member for Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Mr. Speaker, the Toronto Island Airport is a driver of jobs and economic growth. Allowing it to expand would create a multi-billion-dollar customer for the new Bombardier C-Series and create thousands of jobs in Toronto and Montreal. The Liberals just don't understand that jobs don't come out of thin air. Will the Minister get out of the way, approve the expansion, and help get the C-Series program off the ground?
The Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we're delighted to have heard recently that Air Canada intends to buy 45 airplanes from the C-Series because they believe in this aircraft, which, by the way, is the best in its class in the world. And we can also be proud of the fact that the Quebec government is intending to drop its litigation against Air Canada. We are making progress in creating jobs in the aerospace industry in this country. I'd like to know why the member from Beauce thinks that the C-Series is not an airplane that anybody wants to buy.
Honourable Member for Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Bombardier's new plane is quieter than those allowed to land at the Toronto Island Airport when the tripartite agreement was signed in 1983. Rather than block the creation of good jobs, the minister should follow his own advice and use evidence-based decision-making to modernize the regulations governing the use of this airport. Will the minister accept the evidence, consider the thousands of jobs created, and allow the Toronto Island Airport to expand?
Honourable Minister of Transport.
As I said again, I had the opportunity this morning, Mr. Speaker, to make a 20-minute speech because obviously the official opposition has had difficulty in understanding the basis of our decision with respect to the tripartite agreement. We made it very clear that we were achieving the right balance between commercial interests and the interests of the community. We do care about local issues. Unfortunately, this opposition doesn't seem to share the same approach.
Honourable député d'Outremont.
The honourable member for Outremont.
Speaker, a new report released yesterday proves that the pay gap for women in Canada is actually getting worse. Meanwhile, the costs of childcare are astronomical and rising, putting enormous strain on households that include young families and making it more difficult for women to participate in paid work. It's almost always women who wind up making sacrifices in their career when affordable childcare isn't there. The Liberals promised Canadians they would take action on a national childcare program within the first 100 days. Where is it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The Liberal Party was elected on a platform investing $20 billion over the next 10 years in social infrastructure, which includes social housing, seniors housing, and affordable childcare. And that approach is what exactly we're going to be put forward in the budget. But it's interesting to me that the member opposite would be talking about that, because right now, if he were government, he would be busy trying to figure out how to cut $18 billion of spending from this government so he could balance the books at every cost, which was the commitment that the NDP made in the election.
The honourable member for Outremont.
Of the Liberals was for a national childcare program within the first 100 days, and as we've just seen, that's another broken promise.
Only 33% of unemployed women have access to EI compared to 43% of men. Today, again, women are more likely than men to occupy a precarious job. Does the Prime Minister, who claims to be a feminist, or can he in fact tell us why yesterday the Liberals voted down a motion that would have enabled scores of women to have access to employment insurance? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, people in Canada know full well that we committed to changing and improving the EI system to help Canadians who need it. That is exactly what we're doing. We're working very hard on it, and we will have some comments to make on that in the weeks to come, especially with the tabling of the budget. The honourable member for Outremont.
Yesterday's motion contained 3 Liberal promises, and they voted against it. Internal documents reveal the government gave a secret sweetheart deal to multi-millionaire tax cheats, with no penalties and even a discount on the interest. Once again, we see there are 2 sets of rules, one for the wealthy and another one for everyone else. How many other times has this happened, and is the Prime Minister going to call an investigation into this tax scam for the rich?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We're, of course, engaged with CRA on the issues brought forward. It is a concern to us that all Canadians pay their fair share of taxes, and we will ensure that that continues to be the case in the future. What decisions made under a previous government, if they're erroneous, we'll look into them for sure.
The honourable member for Outremont.
The problem is, as this case illustrates, it is not the case that the rich are paying their fair share, and they are let off the hook by the Canada Revenue Agency. So the question was, is the Prime Minister going to order an investigation to figure out how this happened? He can't hide behind the fact that it was a previous administration. Canadians have a right to know that the tax system is equal for all Canadians. This case proves just the opposite. One set of rules for the rich and another for everyone else. What is the Prime Minister going to do about investigating this case so that Canadians know that there's tax fairness in this country? Stop protecting the risk. Stop protecting a tax system that's fair for all.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
One of the things at the heart of the campaign that led to us forming government was the idea that the previous government had successively given advantages and tax breaks to the wealthiest Canadians and not to middle class and those folks working hard to join the middle class. That's why we stood against the child benefit scheme that the previous government had put forward that was benefiting the wealthiest and not those who needed it the most. That's why we're looking forward to turning around, and it was disappointing to us to see that the NDP sided with the government in giving child benefits to millionaire families when it was other folks who needed it more. That's what we're going to do, and that's what we're elected to do.
The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
Mr. Speaker, mining is of vital importance to the Canadian economy. It provides hundreds of thousands of jobs, particularly in remote areas and for Aboriginal people. Yesterday, the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada had their annual convention in Toronto. It's one of the world's largest gatherings on mining and mineral exploration. The Prime Minister was also in Toronto yesterday. Why was he unable to stop by the convention to show his support and his interest in Canadian mining?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I was delighted to spend 2 days at the Prospector and Developers Association, and the message that I heard from the prospectors and developers was that they are leading the world in sustainable practices. We told them the message that they had the full support of our government. They are committed to innovation. They are committed to green technologies. It was a partnership that is in the interests of the sector, in the interests of the government, and even in the interests of the opposition.
Order. Now, member for Portage-Lisgar.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was busy in Toronto yesterday, not with PDAC, with the pandas, however. Mr. Speaker, while he didn't have time for PDAC, he does have time in Washington for his friends, the Centre for American Progress, his pals that he's going to be hanging out with. A blatantly anti-Canadian organization that calls Canadian oil dirty and destructive. They've worked overtime to kill Keystone XL. Does the Prime Minister agree with this group? Why is he spending so much time in Washington with anti-Canadian groups and no time with job creators here in Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Speaker, it may be unusual for the opposition, but this government actually talks to people who disagree with us. And the reason we do that is we believe that the force of argument might even prevail. The Prime Minister has already said that he spoke to the group in support of the pipeline, and we're talking to people right across the country, some of whom have a different view. When you have open ears, you might even be able to learn.
The honourable member for South Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Petronas, the company supporting LNG in British Columbia, has invested over $12 billion going through and receiving environmental approval, both nationally and provincially. This $36 billion project will create thousands of jobs, but the Liberals have added more red tape, additional barriers, significant costs. Will the Liberals commit today to supporting the BC LNG industry and the Canadian job creation? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency is reviewing a number of major LNG projects, including Pacific Northwest. Yesterday, Pacific Northwest submitted substantial new information. This information will be assessed by the Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency. We will be evaluating new information submitted by the proponent in an efficient way that meets our obligations to Canadians, as we do for every major project.
The honourable member for South Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals have blocked the expansion of the Toronto Island Airport, the creation of jobs in the aerospace industry, opposed Energy East, added more red tape to the BC LNG industry, are increasing taxes to the technology sector, increasing taxes for small business. But, Mr. Speaker, we have two pandas named Hope and Joy. Mr. Speaker, is it the Liberals' intention to shut the entire country down?
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
We ran on a campaign of hope and hard work.
And that's what Canadians supported, Mr. Speaker. And if you take the logic of the member opposite, they would be making massive cuts, billions of dollars. They promote austerity, but we promote growth and creating jobs, Mr. Speaker. We have a plan that's going to invest billions in infrastructure. We have a plan that's going to reduce the tax burden for middle-class Canadians, Mr. Speaker. We have a plan that is going to advance the innovation agenda. We're going to grow the economy and create jobs.
The honourable member for Beauport, Côte de Beaupré, Île d'Orléans, Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, the government's turned on the taps and is promising excessive deficits. Canadian families know that it's difficult to make ends meet and that it's not by buying groceries on credit card that they'll do that. Mr. Speaker, can the government reassure us that they will stop using its credit card and mortgaging the future for our children? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member opposite for her question. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives left us with a lamentable economic record. On the 19th of October, Canadians made a different choice, Mr. Speaker. They chose to invest in families, to focus on economic growth. That is what we're doing. We're cutting taxes for the middle class. We're going to continue with our historic plan for Canadians, for the benefits for children. It will help thousands of children across the country and their families. And we're going to continue with our historic investment plan in infrastructure. That's what it means to work for Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
We all know the member for Edmonton, Wetaskiwin, and others can count very well. We appreciate that, but let's not hear it when someone else is speaking. Let's show respect to one another. Honorable député de Beauport, Côte de Beaupré.
The honourable member.
Orléans, Charlevoix.
Recently, the government boasted about working for and fighting for the middle class. Allow me to express doubt when I see the debt spiraling out of control. Their expenditures are motivated by liberal ideology and will be detrimental to our economy. How can the Minister of Finance explain to Canadians that spending more will make us richer, wealthier? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for her question. Mr. Speaker, our vision is completely different from that of the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. We're going to invest in growth. Mr. Speaker, we have cut taxes for 9 million Canadians. We're going to continue to have steps and measures for the middle class. And we're going to do that responsibly. We will continue with our objective of reducing debt to GDP ratio during the course of our mandate. And yes, we do have an objective to balance the budget, but we're in a difficult economic context. We are working for the middle class of this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Access to safe abortion services is fundamental to a woman's right to choose. It must be equally available to all Canadian women. But women in places like PEI do not have access to abortion services, and they should. Commitment to women's rights must be more than talk and promises. It must mean concrete action. And so will this minister commit today to guaranteeing that every woman in every region of the country has access to abortion services?
Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I will remind the honourable member that our government fully supports a woman's right to choose. Our government also recognizes that there are inequities in access to a number of health services, including abortion, across the country. I have been discussing with my provincial and territorial colleagues the fundamentals of the Canada Health Act and the fact that there should be access to all medically necessary services on the basis of need and not on the basis of ability to pay. And I will continue to work with my colleagues to make sure access is available to all Canadians.
The honourable member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Mr. Speaker, unsafe abortions are responsible for 13% of maternal deaths in the world. If we want to save lives, we must take action. So then why is the Minister of International Development continuing with the Conservative policy of refusing to fund abortion services where they are allowed in several countries. Why is she refusing to take a stand for women throughout the world? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I think that my honourable colleague has misunderstood the announcement that I made yesterday. We are very proud to support all services, all reproductive health services. Yesterday, I was accompanied by Dr. Vadatunde from the UN Fund, and the projects that we announced yesterday did not directly target abortion. However, that doesn't mean we are opposed to it. We were responding to a request that focused on family planning, sexual education, and safe abortions, in addition to the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases.
The Honourable Member for Milton.
In 2003, the Ontario Liberal Party came to power, assuring Canadians and Ontarians that they would reduce debt as conditions and allow. Well, since then, we have $300 billion in debt, which is doubled. $22,000 per person is owed, which is doubled. It's increased faster than any other promise. Now, yesterday, the parliamentary secretary said that he would take no lessons from our successes. So I'm wondering, Mr. Speaker, is it because the Minister of Finance would rather be taking lessons from the disastrous legacies of Kathleen Wynne and Dalton McGuinty and racking up debt?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable colleague for a question. Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. We will take no lessons from the Conservative when it comes to deficit. Let me be very clear. Mr. Speaker, our focus is on investing in the middle class and growing the economy. That's what Canadians expect of us, Mr. Speaker. After 10 years of weak economic growth, the worst possible reaction to an economic downturn would be to balance the budget at any cost. This is the kind of blind fixation that Canadians rejected on the 19th of October. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect us to deliver on growth, on the economy, and you know what? That's exactly what we're going to do.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, for weeks, the Liberals have been giving mixed signals and dodging questions about small businesses and their job-killing startup tax. Some days they want to increase taxes for everybody, and some days they only want to raise taxes on small business owners. When will the Liberals abandon their job-killing startup tax?
The Minister for Small Business and Tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Actually, the opposite, Mr. Speaker. This government supports small and medium-sized businesses. We are committed to helping them grow. We're committed to helping them innovate, to become more productive, and to become export-oriented. We have launched the CAN Export Program, which has received a wonderful response. This morning, for International Women's Day, I was with Startup Canada for their Women's Day breakfast, and I met a young entrepreneur, a girl in grade 5 by the name of Frankie. Her and her friend have started up a business. The spirit of entrepreneurship is here. This government recognizes that small businesses are job creators and will grow the economy.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the minister said that the Liberals would, quote, do justice to caregivers. And today we learned what that meant. The Liberals are cutting 8,000 spots this year via the caregiver immigration stream. This program provides vital support for families who are looking after loved ones with physical or mental disabilities. These changes leave the most vulnerable Canadians without care. Why have they chosen to cut 27% of the immigration spots available to caregivers?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Immigration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my colleague for her question. In respect to caregivers, Mr. Speaker, this House and this government stands behind the significant contribution that caregivers make to Canadian society. We stand by our campaign commitments, which is to eliminate the LMIA fee of $1,000 that is required to hire a caregiver. We also stand behind our commitment to work with provinces and territories to facilitate the work and the hiring of caregivers. Caregivers represent a significant contribution to this country. We recognize that, and we're working on processing their claims expeditiously. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
So recognizing a contribution means an 8,000-person cut. This government has also cut the numbers of spots available under the Federal Skilled Worker in Canada Experience class by 21%. These cuts to economic immigration come at a time when our workforce is aging, our economy is slowing, and refugees are waiting for months to have long-term affordable housing. In this context, can the minister explain how he plans to provide the services needed to ensure that their planned 250% increase in refugees is successful, and how much this will cost?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, in terms of I thank the honourable member for her question. In terms of our specifics that were announced today, let me elaborate on the plan. It considers the economic needs of this country, it considers the pressing needs for family reunification, and our humanitarian traditions, which are important vis-à-vis refugees and people coming in under the H&C category. With respect to the economic needs of this country, we hear these needs loud and clear. We are responding to them. The levels that we have announced are over 50% of the overall targets of immigrants that we're bringing to this country. That is responsive to Canadian industry, to Canadian business, and to making this country prosper and grow. Thank you.
The honourable member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, a recent study shows that women now earn 72% of what men earn. This is unacceptable discrimination that is unfair to women. Thanks to the NDP, a parliamentary committee will propose a pay equity action plan to finally reach pay equity. Will the government commit today to passing proactive pay equity legislation so that finally women will see equal pay for equal work? Thank you.
Honourable Minister for the Status of Women.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for her question. Having a gender wage gap in Canada in 2016 is unacceptable. As the first commitment towards pay equity, our Prime Minister appointed a gender-balanced cabinet. We're firmly committed to a public service that reflects the diversity of society, which includes gender parity, and we've supported the appointment of a special committee on pay equity. We will continue to lead by example and work with all members of this House and our provincial and territorial partners to close the gap. Thank you.
Honourable member for Churchill-Kiwatanuk-Askey.
It's not just about wages, Mr. Speaker. Women are also far more likely to be engaged in precarious work. 2/3 of all part-time workers and more than half of all temporary workers in Canada are women. This makes it harder for women to earn a stable income, to afford food, to afford rent, and to qualify for programs like employment insurance. So why did the Liberals let Canadian women down by voting against lowering the threshold on EI?
Honourable Minister of Employment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member across the way for the question. It is absolutely true that the gap that is growing for women, and that more and more are not able to access the very services that they deserve. That is why we committed during the election to review the EI system, modernize it, and bring it into today's world, which will serve all Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, today is International Women's Day, a day when we celebrate women's achievements and their potential in Canada and globally. Speaking of achievements, we saw a record number of 88 women elected to this House in the last election. The Prime Minister appointed an equal number of women and men to Cabinet. Can the Minister of the Status of Women inform us of other actions this government is taking to ensure women can participate more actively in democratic and public life?
The Honourable Minister for the Status of Women.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member from Fundy Royal for her question. This government is committed to advancing gender equality in all areas of Canadian life. International Women's Day theme this year is Women's Empowerment Leads to Equality. I recently launched a call for proposals for projects that will increase women's participation by supporting the work of Indigenous women in their communities and amplifying the voices of women working to enhance their civic and political participation. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, ISIL has declared war on Canada, yet the Prime Minister responds to the women and men who died and fought in Afghanistan with the message that their efforts were worthless. by ending the CF-18 air cover? How many deaths overseas and here at home will it take for the Prime Minister to accept that some campaign promises are made to be broken?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, I think we can agree upon and we share that ISIL is a horrible threat. We just have a different opinion on how we're going to achieve the defeat of this horrible entity. And to only do this, and from our experience, it's going to happen on the ground. To be able to achieve the outcome, we need to be able to train enough of Iraqi security forces, making sure they have the right intelligence to create the right plan. And hence the reason why we have tripled our trainers, doubled the intelligence, and I hope that the opposition votes with us in supporting our plan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Simcoe Grey.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday we asked the Minister of Veterans Affairs to give Canadians an explanation to why the Liberals are cancelling the Afghanistan War Memorial. 40,000 brave men and women in Afghanistan, some of which trained in my riding of Baseport and served there. All he had to say was more information regarding this project will be available in coming months. Mr. Speaker, why won't the Liberals honour our veterans? And why can't this minister provide a straight answer?
Why is this Liberal government and this minister cancelling the commemorative memorial for the war in Afghanistan?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Well, I'm surprised at the question because, frankly, I thought I answered it very clearly yesterday. But it's very important to honor the men and women who served in Afghanistan. In 2014, an all-party motion was put forward, and it was accepted by this House. And I can tell you, I am working very closely with the Minister of Heritage to see this memorial built.
There you go.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, Conservatives balanced their budget, and we helped families balance their budget. The Conservative family tax cuts enhanced uses for childcare, helped 100% of families and kids, and gave back $2,000 of their own money. Families can and have to balance their budget. The Liberals can't and won't balance their budget. Why do the Liberals insist on taking benefits away from increasing families for hardworking mums and dads to pay for their out-of-control spending?
The Honourable Minister of Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased to hear this question because that matter was a very important element of our platform in the last elections and contributed to elect a government that is very sensitive both to economic growth and to inclusive growth. And I think we will have very good news in a matter of a few days, which I think all the House is looking forward to, including the members opposite.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Mr. Speaker, last week we heard that the Prime Minister's brother was lobbying the Minister of Public Safety to bring a terrorist Canadian citizenship restored. Then we have the Agriculture Minister hiring his Chief of Staff, the owner of somebody with a big interest in egg farms in Canada. And then we have the Justice Minister's husband lobbying her on behalf of his own company. And then we have the House Leader and his Chief of Staff cozying up to the Irvings. So my question is, does the Prime Minister not understand conflict of interest?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, what the Prime Minister understands is the importance of raising the bar on accountability and transparency from the shabby record in front of us. And that's why when our government was elected, we took unprecedented steps to bring more openness and more transparency to government, and that includes always abiding by the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner's advice. That's what ministers in this government have done and will continue to do.
Honourable Member for Desnethie, Mississippi, Churchill River.
Mr. Speaker, Indigenous women in Canada are more likely to be victims of violence. Many studies have shown that being a survivor of violence has a significant impact on mental health. But for women on reserve in rural and remote communities, mental health supports and services are often inadequate or non-existent. Will the Health Minister work with Indigenous communities to ensure that culturally sensitive mental health services are available to all women?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased chance to respond to this important question, and I would agree with the member opposite that for women in particular, violence, and particularly for Indigenous women, can often contribute to real challenges in mental health. We are fully committed as a government to responding to the mental health needs of Canadians. The Prime Minister has asked me to make sure that we increase access to mental health services for all Canadians, and I would particularly be interested in working with the member opposite to ensure that we can provide adequate mental health services to Indigenous women and men in her community and all Canadian communities.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot. Mr. Speaker, over the past year, hundreds of women have courageously spoken out against the harassment and violence that they have suffered. These are systemic problems that require a political solution. For years, women's groups have called for a national action plan and new investment for more spaces for shelters. Can the minister tell us when, and I say when, the government will finally listen to women and present a national action plan to finally end violence against women?
Minister for the Status of Women.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member opposite for her passion on this issue. I'm extremely proud to lead the development of a federal gender-based violence strategy. I'm working closely with my provincial and territorial colleagues right now as we speak, consulting with NGOs who have spent a great amount of time working and exploring this issue, and we should have something to talk about near June. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is going to Washington this week to hang out with the Anti-Canadian Energy Centre for American Progress and the Liberal organization Canada 2020. Canada 2020's founders are Liberal lobbyists who are registered to lobby the PMO and other federal departments. At the same time, the Liberals have been raising money by promising a free trip to the Canada 2020 events in Washington. The Liberals have been told to quit doing this. Why are the Liberals still using their government positions to help out their Liberal lobbyist friends while fundraising on behalf of the same old Liberal Party?
Good question. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said in the House before, at all times the Liberal Party has complied and will continue to apply with the election financing legislation. It's somewhat ironic that members sitting on the other side raise people that don't respect election financing laws, because I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, nobody on this side has left in leg irons.
Honourable Member for Yorkton Melville.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the President of Canada 2020 is Tom Pitfield. His spouse is the President of the Liberal Party. They are both self-described friends of the Prime Minister. Understandable. The Conflict of Interest Act is clear. You cannot further the interests of your friends. And the Prime Minister himself is in a fundraising email from his friend, the President of the Liberal Party, offering access for cash. Why is the Prime Minister trying to promote his friends and raise money for the Liberal Party on a supposed official state visit?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we're very proud of what the Prime Minister and ministers will accomplish on the important state visit to Washington. It's an unprecedented honour for Canada, and substantive files will be advanced, and job creation will be a priority on this side of the House, and in discussions at the White House and with other secretaries in the American administration. At all times, we will keep the economic and social needs of Canadians at the forefront. And, Mr. Speaker, drive-by smears about phony fundraising events aren't, frankly, honourable in this House.
Order. Order. Let's have some order here. There's some danger of there being fewer questions. So, member for Lethbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Party is using this trip and its position as government to fill party coffers in order to help out their friends of the Prime Minister. At Christmas time, the Liberals were told that they had to stop this cash for access flow. This is exactly what they're doing now, however, only 3 short months later. They seem to be promising donors access to the Prime Minister and the ministers who are going with him. And we've seen this all before with the Liberals. So my question is, why do the Liberals continue to blur the lines between their party and their position as government?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Again, Mr. Speaker, Canadians will find it somewhat ironic that the other side of the House would be lecturing anybody about using government to advance partisan interests. What we can say, Mr. Speaker, is with respect to this particular event, the member knows very well that no donation was required. This is a normal social media competition that all parties have done. And, Mr. Speaker, at all times, the Liberal Party and members on this side of the House respect election financing legislation, something that colleagues on the other side have had considerable trouble doing.
Honourable Member for Longueuil Charlemagne. Mr. Speaker, last week the Prime Minister and the Environment Minister participated in the Globe Conference in Vancouver. The conference focused particularly on clean energy solutions. As we've said from the beginning, it's time to stop opposing the environment and the economy, particularly when clean energy programs can encourage economic development. Can the Minister of the Environment please inform the House about the meetings that she had at the conference? Thank you. The Honourable Minister of the Environment. I would like to thank my honourable colleague. I had the pleasure of participating in the Globe Summit, the biggest conference dealing with business innovation in the environment and green energy. My parliamentary secretary, the member for North Vancouver as well, were with me in discussing how we can establish leadership in climate change, working in cooperation with the provinces and territories. The Government of Canada has committed to stimulating innovation, promote clean growth and energy efficiency. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Caribou.
Mr. Speaker, there's a recent lawsuit by the SSN and it's looking to declare Aboriginal title over private property. The Premier of British Columbia responded that government must defend with conviction the sanctity of private land and private land rights. Furthermore, she told the people of Kamloops she's got their back. No such message from the federal government. Will the Justice Minister stand up shoulder to shoulder with the province of BC and defend private property ownership?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for the question. Our government is committed to developing a substantive nation-to-nation relationship with Indigenous peoples in this country, sitting down and working jointly based on recognition and moving forward in order to ensure that Indigenous communities can have an improved quality of life, can settle ultimately the land question and do it based on respect and based on the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples.
The Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, one of the best ways to achieve equality for women in Canada is to have the House of Commons actually reflect our population. Women make up over 50% of Canada's population, yet only 26% of parliamentarians are women. Now, the member for Burnaby South has proposed legislation that will help achieve gender equality in Parliament. Will the Minister of Democratic Institutions commit her government to supporting this very important legislation?
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, we intend to undertake a meaningful and inclusive conversation with all Canadians to bring our electoral system into the 21st century. We're doing this because here in Canada, we can do better. For us and for the next generation, we need to do this so that more 14-year-old girls like Veronica from my riding of Peterborough-Kawartha can feel compelled to be engaged in the democratic process.
The Honourable Member for Scarborough Centre.
Mr. Speaker, my riding of Scarborough Centre is one of the most diverse communities in Canada. The Prime Minister came to my campaign office during the election and promised to repeal the second-class citizenship provisions of Bill C-24, telling my constituents that a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. Could the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship update the House on his progress on this promise to restore the integrity of Canadian citizenship?
Parliamentary Secretary for Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to inform this House that we are meeting this important campaign commitment. Bill C-24, enacted by the previous Conservative government, set a very dangerous precedent. It created 2 tiers of citizenship in this country, Mr. Speaker. Regardless of whether you were born here or whether you were born abroad, like myself and many members of this House, Mr. Speaker, you deserve a government that values and respects your citizenship. A Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal Party believes this, Canadians recognize this, and with Bill C-6, we will be implementing this and putting this important fundamental principle back into our immigration system. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, yes, a woman and a feminist will speak about free trade. When it comes to softwood lumber, the Americans have lost every WTO and NAFTA challenge. Quebec's forestry industry is beyond reproach and has always respected the free trade agreement. The government's position should be clear and simple. There's nothing to negotiate. Will the government remind the Americans that the softwood lumber agreement is already signed and it's called NAFTA? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for her question. Yes, NAFTA is part of the framework and one of the issues surrounding the softwood lumber question. And there are other issues in Quebec and in British Columbia. We are aware of the different issues. We are ensuring that we will have stable, fair, equitable access to the American market. That's what we promised, and that's what we're going to do, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Manicouagan. Mr. Speaker, while the Minister of Foreign Affairs is calling for the return of free trade in the softwood lumber agreement, the Minister of International Trade has been saying for weeks that we're negotiating a new agreement. However, Quebec's forestry sector is calling for the return to free trade as called for by NAFTA. Who is speaking on behalf of this government? The Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is calling for free trade, or the Minister of International Trade, who is negotiating an agreement that is not adapted to Quebec's forest industry? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, the question is a priority for our government. Our position is still the same. It has not changed. Mr. Speaker, we want to ensure that we have stable, fair, and equitable access to the American market. We understand there are different positions across the country. We're working with our counterparts in the country and our American partners to ensure that we have a solution that is fair, equitable, and stable.
It was wonderful today to see so many questions and many of the answers on this International Women's Day from women. How about a hand for them? It was unfortunate, however, to have a lot of noise and a lot of voices being heard that were male voices that I was hearing when they didn't have the floor. So let's try to have some decorum around here, show respect. I would like to draw attention to the attention of the honourable members. We'll get to points of order in a few minutes. I would like to draw the attention of honourable members to the presence in the gallery of Dr. Arthur MacDonald, astrophysicist and co-winner of the 2015 Nobel Prize in Physics, and his collaborators representing 4 countries and over 15 universities and research facilities. Point of order, honourable member for Brantford Brant.
Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding Standing Order 32.2, I'd like to bring to the attention of the House the reported surplus of $2.2 billion at the end of December 2015, and ask for permission to table the documents proving this from the Department of Finance.
Is unanimous consent for the member to table the documents? Apparently not. The honourable member for Simcoe Grey, a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, as much as I do appreciate you commending all of us on International Women's Day, I would like to ask why you removed a woman from the speakers list today. I recognize that you do. Please let me finish.
I'll let you finish.
Recognize that you have a point of this, but I'm not sure why you would actually punish someone in this House who's a woman who has been here since, I think, 2004, doing outstanding service for Canadians because of the actions of what you claim were men in the House.